Halo Infinite is delayed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special edition of Coin A Geek. And it's really only very special because I haven't done one in like 2 weeks, and we got a lot of news to cover. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, let's start with the top story of the week, and that is Halo Infinite being delayed. As I alluded to in my little prelude there, you could tell that I am actually kind of giddy about this. Not because I hate Halo or anything like that, but just because, I don't know, they kind of blew it with their whole presentation. They came out and showed off Halo Infinite and how it was supposed to be this big flagship title, and it just fell super flat. So I'm in some ways happy to see that it's actually getting delayed. That means that hopefully 343 Studios is going to work on it. It's going to be pushed back to 2021. So one of the big questions I have about this is, how is this going to affect Xbox's, I can't even say it, Xbox Series X's launch. Man, that's a mouthful. Because my understanding was that Halo Infinite was going to launch with the Series X, but now that's been pushed back for who knows how long. Where does that leave the Series X in its launch lineup? The PlayStation 4, to my understanding, is going to be launching with the new SpiderMan, the Miles Morales one. But what is Xbox going to do? Are they just going to fish out a whole bunch of third-party exclusives? So let's talk a little bit about Halo Infinite. In one of my last videos, I talked to you about how I thought the game just looked okay, and mostly I think that has to do with the graphics. The gameplay looks fine. If you're a fan of Halo, I think you're going to enjoy the gameplay from what they presented, but the graphics had all kinds of issues with it, and essentially we're looking at something that looks like an intergenerational game. Like, it's supposed to come out for Xbox One and also for the Series X. So I'm glad that they're delaying it, because hopefully they'll be able to push it out, and then Halo fans who have been waiting a while to get the next like true Halo game will actually have what they've been waiting for. Speaking of the Xbox Series X, Microsoft came out and basically confirmed that they are looking to do a November launch, which is about what I figured, because a lot of games that we were anticipating were going to come out in the next few months have been delayed till November. Now, additionally, something that was interesting is that there was a video leaked recently that showed somebody opening up what appears to be a Series X controller. This wouldn't be a big deal, except that Microsoft hasn't really shown off their controller yet. So this means that somebody had to have gotten their hands on an early copy of the actual Xbox Series X controller. Maybe somebody who works in Best Buy, maybe somebody who works at a particular realtor, maybe it was stolen off of a freight truck, who knows?
Stop right there, criminal scum!
It looks, I mean, honestly, it doesn't look like anything spectacular, and that may or may not be what you want, because if you're a fan of Xbox controllers, it looks a lot like past Xbox controllers, a lot like the Xbox One controller. There's one additional button there towards the bottom that I'm not sure what that is. Maybe that's something like the share button on the PS4, but honestly, if you put them side to side and you had like a parent pass by who didn't know anything about Xbox or PlayStation, she'd probably think that they were the same controllers. The other thing that was interesting about that is that there is some information on there, marketing information, that says do not show until November 6th. So we already know, like I said, that November is going to be the launch date of the Series Next. Series X. I can't say it.
So,
we know for sure that November is going to be the launch of the Series X, like I mentioned earlier. But now we even have what probably is the actual date. That seems to be the rumor going forward. If this Xbox controller leak is legit, we still haven't heard jack squat from Sony in terms of what their release date is. We still haven't heard anything yet on pricing from either Microsoft or Sony. So there's still a lot left to be learned, but you know, at least Microsoft has now made the first move. So we'll see how Sony counters. In other gaming news, Cyberpunk 2077 released a couple new trailers, one showing off the lore. It looks like you're going to be able to pick a backstory for one of your characters. So the way that Cyberpunk is doing this is they're calling it a life path, and you have 3 life paths that you can choose from, either a nomad, a street kid, or a corpo. So the nomad starts out in the desert part of the game, which is outside of the main city, and it looks like you interact with some ruffians around there, kind of Mad Max-ish type of characters, and then work your way into the city. The street kid is exactly what it sounds like, basically the Aladdin of the Cyberpunk world. Riff raff, street rat, I don't buy that. If only they'd look. Okay, that's enough of that. And the last one is the Corpo, which, as you can imagine, are the Trumps of the world, the high society, as it were, the Patrick Batemans, perhaps.
I've got to return some videotapes.
I did hear in a separate interview that depending on what backstory you choose, that you'll have different either abilities or dialogue options that will help you in certain scenarios. They also showed off in another separate trailer the guns that are going to be available in Cyberpunk, which honestly look pretty awesome. There's bullets flying everywhere. They look like they're magnetized. You can get some crazy attachments on your arms, like big old blades, kind of like an Alita Battle Angel. But obviously, the gunplay I think has really stepped up from the original trailer, from what I can see. It looks to be quite visceral and honestly pretty violent. So again, stay away, any of you guys who are under 18. Do not play this game. And maybe some of you adults shouldn't play this game either. But I let you be the judge of that. So the other game that made news this week was The Avengers, the new game put out by Squaresoft and developed by Crystal Dynamics. Now, you haven't seen me really cover a lot of the Avengers in this particular channel, and that's honestly with good reason. I kind of don't really find it very interesting. That's just was the initial impression, and I haven't seen a lot of strong gameplay to me that made it look like, oh, this game's going to be cool. But if you're at all interested, you should be interested to know, and you probably do at this point, that there is a beta available if you pre-order the game. So there's been some beta footage being put out online, and you know what, honestly, I didn't even know that this game was supposed to be kind of like Destiny, wherein as you choose a character and you progress, and it's kind of open world-ish, it sounds like, but you can also do multiplayer components, squad up. To be honest, man, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't, because I'm confused by this game. I'm confused about what this is supposed to be. Maybe I should just pre-order the game just so I can play the beta and give you guys my full impressions. But if you guys want to look around, there's plenty of articles being written about it. It seems like graphically the game looks pretty good, especially on the PS4 Pro. I'm hearing it's significantly better than the standard version. But the gameplay to me still looks incredibly linear. The other real big thing I should mention real quickly is that there's some controversy because SpiderMan is exclusive to the PlayStation 4. Now, I'm assuming that's because SpiderMan is still kind of a Sony-owned property, and they could weasel their way in and actually acquire those rights. I don't really care either way. I mean, if Spider-Man is kind of the character that can be brought in and brought out, then he probably isn't really going to be more than just somebody that tags along. And not necessarily super integral to the story. And the last bit of news that I'm going to talk about is that the new Tony Hawk, the new old Tony Hawk, being that it's a remake of Tony Hawk 1 and 2, that was a lot to say, has actually launched with a demo. So if you want to go ahead and hop onto either the Xbox Live Marketplace or the PlayStation Store and download a copy of that, you should definitely do it now.
Every word of what you just said was wrong.
I don't know if I want to pay a full $60 for a game that I've already played a ton of as a child. It definitely looks better with updated graphics, and as long as it feels right, as long as it feels like a good Tony Hawk game, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. But it's one of those games that I feel like it's probably going to be a $30 or $40 purchase for me. However, there's a lot of people that I know that love Tony Hawk and may plop down to get some of that. So that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Curious to see what you guys think. Feel free to drop a comment down in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Till next time, guys, we'll see you later, and we'll leave a coin on the cabinet for you. Peace!
Then pay with your blood!
What actual background he shows. Here comes my wife to ruin my recording. It's not up. You're right, babe. It wasn't up.